I don't have any money, but I want to flip. Where do you find the money? How do you attract the money? This video is for you. When you're buying real estate, whether it's for a buy and hold, a long-term rental, or for a quick flip, you have to have money one way or another to be able to buy the property. And so over the years, I've seen one key point that is probably the foundation for all of this is that you need a deal that actually will have the potential to make money and that will pencil and that will make sense both for you and the people you're going to borrow the money from. And so to start, the deal has to be worthy of somebody lending you the money or you putting in your own money. It's got to have the upside to make money and be profitable. So I have other videos on that about how to find deals and how to analyze deals. But in general, the right deal will always attract the money needed for the deal. Now, that's not going to mean that it's automatic. You do have to have a plan and strategy, and you got to talk to people. But once presented to the right people that have the money and the deal's the right one, you're going to be able to figure out a way to make it work, and they're going to feel comfortable lending you the money. So in general, on a purchase, if you're flipping especially, you need money for the actual purchase of the property, and then you need money for the rehab of the property. I see there's, I think, 3 ways to do this. You either have cash, you have the seller finance it to you, or you get private or hard money. If you have cash, you're not watching this video, obviously, because your problem is solved. You just write the check, buy the house, pay for the rehab, move on to the next one. A lot of people getting into investing for the first time, or a lot of people that are doing more than a few houses, need other people to help them with the money, whether it's through debt or equity or a partnership or something like that. So the main ways that I've seen this happen, well, and let me back up. The other part is to get the seller to finance it for you. This video is not about that. If you have cash or seller financing, there's other videos that we can go into more detail about that. But really quick, seller financing, if you're not familiar with it, is basically where the seller will be the bank for you and either let you assume their existing loan through some different strategies, or they will actually just seller finance the property for you. And I've even seen it where the seller will finance some of your rehab. It just depends on how good you are at negotiating that. But let's go back to the assumption that you don't have any of your own money. How in the world are you going to buy a house if you don't have any of your own money? Again, if you have a good deal, I think we're on the right track, because I think some of these things that we'll talk about next will help you get the money for both the purchase and the rehab. There's terms out there like hard money, private money, gap money, investor money, equity. At some point, they all mean the same thing, but they're utilized in different ways. Hard money is kind of more of my main role, where I loan the bulk of maybe 80 to 90%, sometimes 100% of the purchase price of the property. I would have my loan and my money secured through a mortgage, a deed of trust, a promissory note, a personal guarantee. A lot of people think of that as hard money. We are in first lien position and we're funding the bulk of the purchase. Then what's needed is for the down payment and the rehab. I hear people talk about that in terms of gap funding, private investor. That's usually coming from a source that is more closer to the borrower. It's usually a closer relationship, or it's in their network of friends, and it's usually people that maybe don't have enough money to fund all of the purchase price, but they might have 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 that they can contribute to the down payment or the rehab part of it. So those are different terms, and sometimes those people will secure their money in second position, sometimes in third position, or sometimes they'll have a joint venture agreement where they're really not successful, and where I see problems arise in the future is where it's just more of a handshake, and it's like, oh, hey, Jim, here's the down payment. Let me know when the house is sold, and you can give it back to me. When deals don't go to plan, that money is usually lost, and or there's an argument about it. So in best practices, and we can talk about this in another video, is how to properly secure your gap lender or your private lender funds so that they're protected, even though they might be in a subordinate position they would at least have a priority on the title. But for the sake of this video, where do you find that money? And I want to start by telling you where I found the money myself over the years. Thankfully, we've had enough deals that actually make sense. So they've been attractive enough to people that wanted to invest with me. And I'm not like a real aggressive salesperson. I don't like cold call a lot. I rely on my network and my existing and prior and future relationships to help me fund my deals. So I started out small. I started calling maybe an old boss, an old mentor, networking with the local RIAs to find out who the hard money lenders are. And at some point, you do have to take that leap and go and talk to those people. And you have to have a well thought out and very clear plan to present to them of what you're doing. That's why it's so important to understand how to prepare your deal evaluation, how to do comps, how to estimate rehab. Those are all prior videos I've done and will do more in the future. But you've got to have a very clear way of explaining to your lender or your equity partner or your gap lender why it is you're buying the property, how you're going to execute on it, where and at what price you're going to sell it, who's going to help you sell it, your time frame. You want to let them know in an authentic way, not that you're making it up, like what your plan is at a basic level. And so when I first started, even though it's not as polished as maybe it is now, I would tell them, I'm buying it for X price. I think it'll cost this much to do it. We're going to have this rehab crew do it. I'm going to list it. I'm using these comps. I'm the agent. Here is my calculation of if I borrow money from you at X% and I hold on to it for 6 months, I'll get you paid back. You're going to be in first position. I'm hoping to make this much money. And if it doesn't go to plan, you're protected because I will lose my money first, my down payment second, before you're exposed to it. And so it might take a few conversations, but if you prepare a pre-laid out plan and they understand their risk level and they can see that there's upside in the deal, the first one's always the hardest. But once you can get momentum, those people will see a successful return and it'll be good for them because you're paying them more than they would make if it was in a money market or something like that. And it cycles fairly quick. It's not like their money's tied up for years and years and years in this long-term, investment. So that's usually the easiest way to get hard money or private money. And then the same will go true for guys that you're looking to borrow the down payment and the rehab. It's usually coming from a close circle of friends or people that know and trust and like you, or the network. And sometimes it's just simply asking. I've seen people on social media, and this isn't my strategy because I'm not always comfortable with it, saying, hey, I have this deal. I'm looking for X amount for rehab. I think it makes sense. If you have some extra money and you want to do it with me, jump on in. Now, I don't know what the regulations are. You got to be careful maybe that you're not selling an investment or something like that. So look into that. But my experience is it's my money the way I've been able to borrow from, and it has come from existing relationships or from people like me now that are in the business of it. You just got to know where to find them. So your local RIAs, Facebook groups, referrals from other flippers, you will find out quickly who is the best place for the hard money. The private money is going to be a little bit more challenging, or the gap funding money. Most hard money lenders don't like to be in second position, or they don't want to fund the rehab. There's also a lot of nationwide, like hedge fund type hard money lenders, and they're going to be great too, but they're not going to move as quick as a local person that is in your neighborhood, that's in your market, that doesn't have a very sophisticated process. It's their own funds. Those ones are going to be a lot easier to borrow money from. People with self-directed IRAs that have smaller amounts of money that can't invest in something bigger. Those ones are great ones for down payment rehab money. And all of this, though, I've seen people get money from different people at different times with really crappy deals. And maybe those borrowers didn't have the greatest of intentions and were a little reckless. I would say rule number one always is never lose your investor's money or your lender's money. Because if you do, that'll be the last time you borrow from them. And if you want to be flipping successfully for a long time, you've got to take care of that money and give realistic communication and updates and expectations up front. So all these videos are the assumptions that you're not going about this trying to steal people's money. There is times where you're going to lose money and you might lose other people's money. But I think as long as you're honest with them and upfront, it'll be a lot easier for everybody to absorb. Communicate well upfront, during, and after. And it's going to come from your network, bottom line. Your rehab funds, your gap lender money is going to come from your network. And if you don't have a network that has that money, find a network where people do. Sometimes it's just getting creative. Sometimes it's joining a club or a meetup, or it's just being proactive and telling people what you do and how they might fit into part of it. So I hope these tips have helped. It's not always an easy thing to find. It sometimes takes persistence. You got to believe in your deal, but it all starts with the deal. If you have the right deal, the money will follow. Easiest source, hard money lenders for first position. The private gap money lenders is sometimes a little harder to find, but you will find it as long as you present a clear, concise plan to those people and you show them how they're exposed, where their risk is, and also where their opportunity is. And if it's a crappy deal, you're not going to find the money. If it's a good deal, you will find the money. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, click like. We'll keep sending more videos, and good luck out there raising money and having successful deals.